it doesn't necessarily appear that it's going to be a major problem right now. We may run into some problems, but one thing that it told me as I opened it, you may have noticed, was that it couldn't find some of the fonts, which means that you're using fonts that are not at least normal in Malaysia probably. Maybe you're using some fonts from China that aren't in this computer. And so it's able to kind of mimic them. It did, I'm not sure which ones it's saying, it gave me the option of looking at a list, but I don't really want to take the time to do that. But it may find itself in things like right here, this headline doesn't fit, for example. And that may be that it did fit in whatever font you actually had, but I don't have this font. Therefore, my computer is trying to mimic the font that it doesn't have. And so here, at least, the headline does not fit. So be careful. When I suggested that you do use Times New Roman and Arial, there's also a reason for that, is that those are definitely fonts that are used in Malaysia and much of the world. And if we use other fonts, just because you have, if you again, if you're using fonts that were common in China, it doesn't mean they're common here. And so I may not, well, it's a little bit hard for me to know how to grade a paper when the fonts aren't fitting right. And I don't know for sure whether you left it that way or whether it's because you used a font that I don't have or what. So be careful of that. To just be on the safe side, I would stay with Times New Roman and Arial unless it's something that is clearly Western. Helvetica, for example, you can probably find. But you know from your use of Word and stuff like that of other programs that we have Times New Roman and Arial. Those are extremely common. So, and you're trying to be creative, using fonts that you're used to from someplace else, it may be a problem. And I don't know quite what to do about it from my grading side of the story. So anyway, let me just go through with what I do have here and try to correct it and talk about the things that I like and don't like. We have a nice big photo, a good center of focus, people in it, things going on. This photo down here is kind of a stare at the camera photo. You know I hate those, but anyway, it's about the right size at the bottom of the page. This one may be a little bit small. Well, I would say if you're only going to have 3 photos, let me put it that way, then I would say it's probably a little bit small. So we go look at it a little bit closer. And yeah, when we talk about a half-column mug, it's usually a mug is, almost by definition, is just the head and maybe part of the shoulders. But if you try to put much more than that, then you don't have the detail, and it doesn't make a very powerful photo. It's an extremely small photo. I've also tried to explain that if it's actually were printed, which these won't be, and actually sent to a press, but if that was, it would be problematic because the detail when it's printed on newsprint is lost. A lot of the detail is lost because the ink runs in newsprint. It's a low quality, cheap paper. Newsprint is the cheapest paper you can buy. So there's a big difference between what magazines can do with slick paper and what newspapers do with newsprint. So be careful about making any picture with too small an image, but if you're going to do a half-column mug, you try to crop it tighter than that. So it's we don't. The golden triangle or the magic triangle is the other, as the textbook we were just looking at a second ago was talking about, aren't the only ways. They also had the chicken in the leg sort of layout, where basically, if you go away from the golden triangle, you're typically have a very big picture at the top. This is, could be, might kind of be in the ballpark. The headlines also are big enough that they might break up the grayness quite a bit. If this one were maybe a full column at its current cropping, it could be argued. Not exactly a triangle, but actually the example shown in the last presentation, it wasn't a real strong triangle either. Two of its photos were a little bit close together for a good triangle. But the general appearance of it is good. Like I said, we do have problems with the headlines that aren't fitting on the page. So as far as trying to fix it, one thing is to just make the headlines fit. This one here, we do have the main headline is a little bit low on the page. I think maybe we did look at this one yesterday. So maybe I'll go on and not try to fix this one because of the font problem. It's not probably something that whoever created this thought about, let me put it that way. So here the headlines are totally missing because they use a font that Quark and that my computer don't possess. So I think I'll go ahead and, well, I'm going to try to go past this one if I have something else I can show. Yeah, the center focus is a little bit low. The major headline is below the fold, as we call it. The fold is the halfway point. And so the headline is below the fold, below the halfway point, which is not real normal, but it's not unheard of. Most of the photos above the fold, headline below it, it doesn't look that bad. But do be careful and part of the reason why we want it above the fold is that the papers in a broadsheet actually does get folded. So when it's put into a newsstand or something, you only see the top half of the page. You don't see the bottom half of the page because it's folded in half. So that's why we call it above the fold. Consequently, if you have a major headline, the supposition is that's an interesting story, or why would you give it a big headline? So that's something you want on the top of the page, above the fold, because again, if people come to a newsstand or something, if you have it below the fold, they don't see that headline. So that kind of defeats the purpose a little bit in trying to sell stuff from the stand or from the news rack, whatever. So we try to make it a little bit higher than that. Let me see, I'm going to leave that one open while I'm trying to open another one. Since I'm having some problems, I'm not exactly positive what I'm going to come up with. Which one is this? That one, number 20. Okay, so here's another one. Go up where we can see it a little better. Hate these flies in here. Okay, looking at the overall page, yeah, this one could use a lot of improvement. First off, the photos are too small. A lot of them have no people in them at all. Some that have people have very small people. So this looks like a very old-time page. The old New York Times, so that first, I can't remember which presentation was, there was a one that had a picture at the top and nothing at the bottom. That kind of looked like the old New York Times, and even now the New York Times doesn't use a lot of art in the front page. They're not very artistic on their front page. So it kind of reminds me, this one kind of reminds me of a 1960s New York Times sort of thing. Except they would crowd a lot more stories onto it. They wouldn't only have 3 stories. We do, again, the challenge was to put 5 stories on the front page, and so we had some people somehow not knowing that. Most people did, but some people either ignored or didn't understand that part of the assignment. So again, how to correct this one, in some ways I'm not really sure because, well, I know there's some people had some other photos other than here. We have posters, I guess, where they were complaining about the university trying to silence the outcry about a rape case that is very old, but somehow it became a public issue now. Again, I encourage people not to use all these different lines. If they need something, they use a box. I'm going to get rid of the lines right off the bat in my version. And then we go back, at least I know some people found other art. I told them they could. So I'm trying to, darn. I did not bring I have the stories and photos in a different hard drive, so I did not bring them. Well, let me try to open another one that has a photo if I can find it for this story. And that's going to take too long. Okay, I'm going to deal with what I have here, which isn't necessarily good. But so I'm going to, first off, the top of the page, it is bottom heavy. We've got whatever art of any size we have at the bottom, even if it's not played upright. I know we have better art than this, but so I might bring this down right off the bat and maybe put that one up the top. And it was too small of a, let me see, it looks to me like we're at a, and get our lines back on there so I can see them. Again, that is uncropped picture. I'm not sure. I guess it must be one of the people that was interviewed. I'm pretty sure we had better art than that. But as I said, I don't have access to the other stuff I needed, at least not quick access. So I'm going to just crop the heck out of that photo. And oops, I didn't want to do that. I want that to be in here. And bring this out and recenter it. Again, this is, I'm sure, not the best photo we had for the consumption tax. But at least we can see the person. So maybe we'll bring that. This one might be the best one to put a box around. So we're supposed to put a box. There are two stories next to each other, box one of them. So we're going to bring this box down. I'm not even sure what this thing down at the bottom is. I'm going to stop the story here. Oops. In the box to back so that we can see the text and so forth. You may have noticed when I was showing that or when I was playing with that, is that you may start off and accidentally put in a box for a photo, but you can just right-click and then change it to a text box so that it doesn't have to stay that way. that was to be the graphic box. I'm going to put some point size on the graphic box so we can actually see that it's there. So I'll click on that, and there it is. I guess it is showing. As I was having trouble, I sent that box to back, so I was having trouble select it. One thing you can do to select something is just hold down your left mouse button and just kind of draw a circle, and then in Quark, whatever's that or not a circle but a box, just with your, not with a graphic box, not a graphic box I'm talking about, with your selection tool, just drag it and it will select whatever it touches. And so it has selected that box that I sent to the back. I couldn't grab it because every other stuff was in front of it. The text box was in front of it, and other stuff was in front of it. And so I couldn't get to it. Down here, I'm having some trouble. We're not showing. Trying to reach down here at the bottom to get our normal selection tools, and it's not giving them to me. Why isn't it? Well, I'm just going to right-click at this point once I get it selected here, because for some reason it's not showing me. Okay. Okay, so I can now see it. I don't know why I'm not seeing all the other tools I need for Quark. It may be that this person turned them off accidentally. But anyway, we need to get the photo in tighter, so I'm going to just actually do some additional cropping. And so the photo's inside the graphic box. Again, I don't exactly understand why this photo is the one being used, but we need a runaround. Some of the text is going underneath it, so we need to choose the runaround. Again, we're not seeing the tools down at the bottom of the page, so I'll use the modify tool with the right click. And we have item. We want it to making sure I see what's in and back and whether it really has kicked it forward. So apparently it has, but there's a bunch of empty spaces here in the story that don't make a lot of sense to me. You know, take off the date line, didn't want that in there. We've got some bunch of empty spaces here. Maybe this is, I'm not sure why they're left there. Doesn't make any sense. We see, I'm going to go ahead and click in here and see what kind of text we have. So again, resisting me otherwise, so I'm going to go in here. I'm guessing that this person really screwed up the Quark and trying to look at a lot of different things, turning stuff off, turning off pilots, and so didn't have all the tools he or she needed to do this job right. So it's fouling me up, and I'm not seeing exactly how they did what they did even. I'll tell you, this one is such a big mess, I think I'm just going to go to a different one. We've got everything. Okay, well, finally we see the measurements. Okay, that we got turned off, so okay, I can play with that again. We do have Times New Roman. The text is in 12 point instead of 10 that it was supposed to be in. I'll go to 10. 20% leading, that's okay. I'm going to go back to preferences and turn it into inches and points and stuff so I can understand a little better myself. So you can change it back and forth, that's fine, and you know, having it in millimeters instead of what I'm used to is not a problem, except when I'm trying to redo stuff. So I'm going to go to inches just so I can deal with it a little better, see what we're dealing with. Okay, so starting off, we didn't have the right point size even. Let me go and see what point size this one is. So here we do have 10 point on that one. This one we did not. Anyway, some of these with this one are so fundamental that I say I don't want to waste your time doing stuff that most of you know. But it starts off with just a bad idea of how to start off. And here, apparently this is, I'm not even sure what this art is supposed to go with here. Okay, it's with this one here, okay. So we have, in this case, let me go back to 0 here so you can see what they did. So this is part of this story here going underneath this story here, which you can't do that, and the caption doesn't match the same size, so it's stretching out here, so this is all kind of screwed up over here. Yeah, this person needs to go back and watch watch my demonstrations of how to do the page to start with, but you have to make sure everything's modular. You need to have decent sized headlines. I mean, this shows no, it didn't pay any, well, this is 36 point up here, but it's a 36 light. And down here, we've got 36 bold, so the boldest headline is not very bold, but it's below. This one here is 24 point, was kind of towards the top. There were lines all over the place, not boxes. Just graphically, just not a very pleasing front page because the headlines are not very dominant. Not very good photos at the top. None of the photos in the entire page are very good. I know there has to be better pictures in this for these topics. So not good judgment on what to do with what you have on this one. Needs a lot of work. By pushing some of the stories to page 2, you also pushed over to page 2 some, this is probably, of the ones actually used, this is probably the best photo on page 2. This chart is way too small, but that could be a page 1 chart showing the trade differences, and it's way too small on any page. It's too small. This should be a chart that should be like 3 times that. Should be like a 3-column chart, something like that. At least 2 columns, not 1. But we just haven't used the content very well with this. So I'm just going to stop with that and go to one that is a little bit easier to fix, because this one is not easy to fix. Let me try to open again the one at the top. We'll see if I can do that as the better example. So I don't know. This appears to be a old version of Quark this person got a hold of, and it won't let me open it without downloading some software. I don't know how they got a hold of this old version, but anyway, I had it open last night, so I don't know why I was able to open it last night and not today. But I'll go to a different one then and see what we can come up with. This is claiming the same thing. Well, let me close this one. It may have something to do with it. I don't know why. Okay. So we have another one that is a little bit closer to reality that we can correct just some stuff real quick. This one is actually quite a good page, except a major error was, for some reason, this person put really wide gutters between the columns, and I don't know what they were thinking or if they just somehow got off in the wrong spot. But, you know, strong headlines towards the top. In the other page, they were sans serif, light face sans serif. Here, these are, even though this is, well, this is 42 points, so in a broadsheet, getting up to something that is, will get your attention a little better. This one down here, the biggest headline is, if I can click into it, it's not letting me. Again, we've got, sometimes you have to bring stuff to the front to get to it, so I'm going to bring this up to the front so I can access it. Let me close in, see what's going on here. Okay, I couldn't, something else on top of it, I had to get into it. So anyway, here we've got 52 point. So these are nice size headlines. This is kind of odd here where it has kind of, well anyway, we have stuff, it looks like this is smaller than this or a different typeface than this. Something is different about this. This D is smaller than that D. So this must be using, well, this is Calibri, and this is Arial, and this is Calibri. So even though they say they're this, might say they're the same type size, they're not, or they don't actually have that appearance. So this one is 52 point Arial, and this part up here is, says it's 52 point, but it's Calibri. So it looks odd to have changed the typeface right within the same headline. I certainly would not do that. Four stories in the front. Because there's confusion, I'll kind of ignore that, but I don't quite understand why people thought they could put only 3 in the front. I know I said that I wanted 5, but some people aren't listening or aren't even attending some of the classes. And I tried to make sure that you had teams so that you could explain things to each other if somebody had a question that somebody might understand my English better than somebody else. But anyway, somehow some people got through this whole process and did not understand what they're supposed to do or ignored the instructions. I don't know which. So anyway, going back though, we have a good separation or a good balance, I would say, in the photos. The center of focus is below, is not at the top, let me put it that way, but it's not below the fold. The fold would be somewhere in here. So at least part of the biggest picture is above the fold, and the biggest headline is above the fold. And so that's all good. It's more than a triangle. We have 4 good-sized pieces of art, but they're balanced in a way that go from right to left to right to left, taking your eyes back and forth across the page. That's good. I might, and looking at this photo, I might do some cropping in this one to make the image a little bit bigger. We have quite a bit of dead space that I don't think we need here. And in fact, it doesn't even take all the space that's available right here. So I would first off enlarge the text box or the graphic box to fill that whole space. There's no good rationale for having white space like that, so that the picture is smaller than the caption even. So I think we can, we have enough. I don't know what she's pointing at exactly, but whatever she's pointing at is not clear anyway. So I would say that we can crop out some of the ceiling, and probably some of, and then a little bit of that door to get that image a little bit better. Most images are pretty good in this one, but this one could be cropped better, I think. So we now have the image within the picture bigger and is covering this whole width, which we didn't have before. We might even we maybe should actually make the I'm trying to get to the bottom of this picture box, and I guess the picture box goes clear down here. That was part of the problem. So recrop a little bit. Give it a little more air down here. It was kind of crowding the caption a little bit much. Then I wanted to let the caption breathe a little bit. I may have gone up a little bit too big, but it's so maybe I can come down and split the difference. But I may have to go in and zoom in a little bit to do that. And now I can bring down, and maybe not make that much white space, but just let it breathe a little bit more, and bring down the image with it. Okay. Anyway, the other pictures are okay. There's some of these don't have any people in them, or at least not much. I like to have people. There's some of the background here. Nothing with the Big Mac, but since there's 4 pictures, not going to complain too much about that. I want to go look in here on the this one also. This picture also does not fill all of its space, so that's problematic. Maybe this person doesn't quite understand how to do the cropping on this, but the picture is inside the text box and doesn't fill up the photo box. So you may have to double click in here, double click to get to the handles for the photo itself, and then bring it out to fill the space for the photo frame. However, we might actually be a little bit tight to the graphic box, so we might actually shrink the photo frame a little bit because of that. And probably move him up a little bit, get more of his hands and less of the person in the background. So again, want to, well, actually in this case, bring the photo frame in just a little bit. The photo frame, not the picture frame. But the picture frame is a little bit too tight to the graphic box, and the graphic box is actually outside of the, appears to be outside of the grid system, so it might actually be too close. Well, no, I guess it's okay. We've got a couple of lines in here that I guess this is a ruler line, but I think it may be just a little bit too tight. But that's what it wants to jump to, because the ruler line is tight. If you can get a hold of it, you can bring that ruler line out a little bit. And down here where there's no text and stuff is maybe the easiest place to grab it, and just bring it a little bit further away from the graphic box up here. So now I can bring the graphic box out just a little bit further away from that the photograph box, away from the frame, the graphic frame. So then come back here, double click on the photo again, bring it back out a little bit to match the photo box, bring it up a little bit, but I need to go up and make sure I'm not cropping off the head. Actually, cropping off a little bit of head doesn't matter, but you don't want too much. A little bit of that is okay. Okay, so we're just recropping that a little bit to fill that frame. We see here that this person is using a sans serif for text. We don't want to do that. So their biggest problem is the text. We have the text, first off, in that it's a sans serif and not a serif text. So I don't know what it is, but it should be Times New Roman. So that's going to make a difference. It should be Times New Roman 10. It's not showing that. Maybe they made their, they do have subtitles here. Maybe they made their subtitles bigger, which would be a little different. But we see a lot of excessive gutter. I'm trying to figure out how they did it. This is, okay, maybe it's within the text command itself. It might be up here editing the text, body text, see what they did here. Doesn't seem to be excessive indents. We may have to go back to the okay, so it doesn't seem to be within the style, the body text style. That doesn't seem to be the problem. The problem probably then in the actual text frame, when you set up the actual number of columns you're going to use and so forth. So if we can get to the text frame, again, we have to get to it, and we have all these other boxes and stuff that kind of interfere sometimes. So we've got headline boxes out too far. We've got, you know, I guess maybe they're trying to come out, and that may be part of the problem. They're trying to cheat on the system a little bit. But you know, if you, it's not a good idea to do that. That causes other problems. So we'll leave that for the moment, though. But we need to get to the graphic or the text box itself. And looks like I maybe have it. And go back into that. Let's see if I can modify the text box. not getting it there. I need to maybe go up here. Here we're at the text frame. Okay, 4 columns and gutter of 6 millimeter. Since I don't think millimeters, I'm not sure what it should have been, but probably more like 3 because it looks like about double what it should be. So I'm going to, because it's actually the blue lines suggest what the gutter should be in these in the text box, because that's what it automatically comes up with. But within this text box, they end up adding more gutter somehow, and I don't know what their objective was, but it didn't look right, let's put it that way. Even that's quite a bit wide. Over here we also have wide gutter. We have the same problem over here. And again, we have 6 millimeter gutters. So even that's wide. It looks like the standard is more like 2 millimeters. And so I'm going to go back in here also and try to get that to be 2 millimeters. So these wide gutters, I don't know again whether it was trying to take up space. I don't know what the rationale was or whether it's just a mistake. I don't know, but it didn't look right. Here we have again an Arial, or at least a sans serif text. That's wrong. Again, in the past, I've done all my body text in a sans serif type, but it has to be by style, not by randomness. Some sans serif and some not sans serif. So we go over here. It's maybe again a Chinese font. It's not even telling me what the font is. Maybe if I just go to 1, it will. Okay, there's Calibri. So we don't want Calibri. That's not an acceptable font. Our style is Times New Roman for body text, and again 10 point. So everything is changing in here. Once we do that, I see we also this appears to be in the body text. We've got too much space out here, and it's different than the lead. So I'm going to have to go and try to figure out what that's doing. Again, maybe in the body text. Go back and look at that again and see if I can edit that to here we still have shows of 4.23 millimeters, and we already saw that it should be closer to 2. I don't know, they've been monkeying with this enough that it's, again, getting hard for me to keep track of what they're doing here. Okay, well, that's not what I wanted to do either. Let me try to undo that. Well, the fact that we have here, when you see a blank box like that, that means that there's more than one number there, typically. So you have something that doesn't know, it can't give you a number there because there's more than one, and so that seems to be our biggest problem here. So by selecting this text, the fact that that box went blank, it reflects the fact that we have indent on the lower part and not on the first paragraph. So we shouldn't have any indent there that I can see. Wouldn't be the way to control the separating it from the box, from the graphic box. So I'm just going to put 0 there and see what it looks like at that point. So we get rid of all that. So trying to figure out what you guys are doing sometimes is kind of challenging. So we got rid of that, and we got it back down to a reasonable gutter in between the columns. Maybe, I don't know, 2 seems a little bit tight to me. Over here it looks exactly right. I'm wondering if I did something wrong over here again. So I'm going to, but it would seem to be controlled by the graphic box. So let me click and get into the graphic box again, and well, I'm going to go up to 3 on the gutters, see if that looks better. Since I'm not thinking, I don't think in millimeters, it's hard for me to guess at it real quick. So 3 looks better than that one. Over here, 2 looks fine. So I don't know, that doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. So the person was trying to make these a little bit larger type, and I'm not going to change them back again, and that's not a bad thing to do. The subtitles can be maybe 1 point size bigger, not a lot bigger, but at 1 point size bigger. We have here, some headlines that aren't filling the space. That's a problem. So it's, there's too much space to just fill up by resizing it. We're going to have to rewrite the headline. And just the whole idea here isn't going to work. There's not enough, I can't add 1 or 2 words and make it fit, so it's just going to have to be something totally different, probably to fill that space. Well, it can be changed pretty easy instead of it. I think we were calling this a delivery service, something like that. We have a problem over here where this text box goes up higher than this one, so it's not vertically justified properly. But also, meanwhile, it's blocking the headline. So that's one problem, is that we're blocking the headline. And we've got, apparently they did kind of a enter there. So now we've got at least it's a start. More balanced, but it still needs some fixing. So I believe this was actually created by students, right? I'm not sure. Seems like I remember that being the case. Maybe not. But at the very least, we can go to put in our initials here, see what else we can fix, so we don't have to totally rewrite. Anyway, you just have to start thinking what else you can put in and how to stretch this out. And in this case, you don't want it to be bigger type because it's a subheadline, and you don't want it to compete with the main headline. You could make it darker, but again, that'd be kind of competing with the main headline. So you just start thinking, what words can I put in here? What can I You know, the word "it" is kind of vague, so maybe we can fix that. I see over here we have an indent also to get it away from the edge, so that's problematic here. So I know that this person did quite a few things to that you know, have me looking for clues of what did this person do. Normally in a if you don't have a graphic box, there's no reason to be indenting this. The graphic box is over here to the right, so this doesn't have a graphic box. So there's no real need here to be putting in this indent. So again, this is kind of like over here. Apparently, we're running into somebody putting an indent instead of just the normal spacing. I can maybe right-click it again, go to Modify, see if I see it here. Gutter's okay, but it's not that. Where did I find it before? Okay, this was the there. Where'd they do this at? Indent here. Okay, so that's where we had to put in the 0. Okay, well, you guys are making this challenging to me. I mean, this one was lots of things that are good about it, but caused a lot of problems trying to, I don't know, just not paying attention, putting in the wrong typefaces, putting in indents where they're not needed, putting in wide gutters, and I don't know if they, what amount of that they did on purpose, and thinking maybe that they would take up some space so they would have more jump or something. I don't know, but it doesn't look good. So don't. Whatever your thinking was, if you did that on purpose, don't. Going back to this headline here, I would also say don't. You know, going across the gutter like that, the only good solution is really, well, the best solution is what I was telling you yesterday, get rid of is. We very frequently get rid of is. Getting popular, so just get rid of is. Actually, that solves the problem there real easy. So we don't have the other problem. So bring that back in so we're not pushing the text box into the graphic, or I mean into the rest of the text, the next text column. We've got problems here too. Again, we've got funny indent here on the top one as if it were a paragraph or something. You know, the basics of this page were extremely promising, the basic layout, but then we get into all these little problems that drive me crazy. So here we have indents up here. For some reason, need to get rid of that indent. No reason to, and we just bring in the text box. We don't need a, and we've got an indent on the first line. Bring that over. Oops, jump back on me again. So the first line shouldn't be indented in a headline. This appears to be justified. We don't want to justify it. We need it to be flush left. It may look like it fills the space, but it puts space in between words. We don't want to do that. We can make this another point size bigger if we wanted to, but considering that, then we'd have to play with the, it's going to take more space vertically, and so actually this is where you could go down and this would be under text. What I was showing you before, we can use this tool here to make it fatter, so not taller but fatter. So we could go up Now, it did apparently think it should go lower too, but interesting. Because the main idea here is just to get fatter, unless it did actually go over the edge by going too much fatter. Let's go here 105, 105, and see if that will make it. So apparently just not enough space for 110%, but we can fill that space a little bit by just making the letters just a little bit fatter. Of course, we still have this problem. This is Calibri, and that's Arial over here. Don't know, again, we try to avoid is in headlines, and we try to avoid and the in headlines. In this case, probably I would, just the wording of it, as far as staying with headlinees, I would take out the, but then it doesn't fit right, and so I'm not going to mess with it right now. Actually, it would fit right if this were, if we change this to Arial. Let's see what happens when we go to Arial with that part of the headline, because that shouldn't be a different type of headline. So now is kicks down, and then I can take out the and see what happens. And now it fits again. So anyway, that's a fix for that. So this also shows us something else here. This is a telltale sign that we've got a problem here, that we have this blank. Now I did leave too much, not enough gutter apparently. I'm not sure what happened. In getting rid of the flush left, it also got rid of the gutter, so that's, I need to go back in and put in the gutter again. If I'm getting the right box here. Looks like I am. Go up here and look at it up here. Well, let me put some more gutter back in. Maybe it should be 4, not sure. Maybe it was the indent that was fouling it up, not the gutter. Maybe it is supposed to, like I said, I don't think in millimeters. So once we took out the indent, now the 6 millimeters is the right gutter. So you start messing with one of them, and it ends up messing with everything. So probably true over here too. Let me see what happens when I put that back at 6. Yeah, that's more of a normal. I guess 6 might be the right number. It was the indent that was screwing it up. Anyway, going back down here, okay, well, I don't know if we really got to the end of the story or if they cut it. Anyway, this is at this point the end of the story. I don't know if it's truly the end of the whole story or whether they cut some of it. I don't know. But it did, and maybe that was what they're trying to do, is make it, put some jump, because they didn't want to mess with the art or something. I don't know what they were thinking. But I would, and you don't have to jump everything, so you don't really need this jump line if you don't really have enough story. So we can get rid of that jump line altogether. So again, how do you fill that space? And this is where sometimes you would decide, can I recrop the photo, make the photo bigger? It's pretty tightly cropped. And so what is another solution to that? How do I fill that space if there really isn't more story? What do I do with that space? It already has, going back up to Control 0, I have that much space. What do I do? Anybody? Once I put it the right size and took out the indents and everything, it no longer needed to jump. So we took out the jump line, but we have that much extra space there. So what am I going to do with that? A picture, if we have a picture. I don't, like I said, I forgot to bring my external hard drive that has a picture, but let's say we don't have a picture. That's right, that's where you put out your, this is exactly a place where you use a shadow box and a pull-out quote. That you can take exactly that much space pretty easily with a shadow box and pull-out quote. And so if you actually find yourself in this spot, you've got another solution. If you don't have another photo, if you can't resize the current photo, now, you know, it's not totally out of the question of resizing that photo, but gee, they had that nicely cropped. So I really don't want to resize that photo. And I didn't bring my other, you know, and I'm pretending there is no other photo with this, and even if there is, I don't have it with me. And I want to don't want to re-download it from the, or try to find the original or whatever. It's not practical at this moment. But yeah, I mean, going back to what we were talking about last week, we basically, in fact, a good place to start is actually create your shadow box right there. Because if you have a shadow box, I see we've got other problems actually though. This whole text box doesn't go far enough out. Anyway, that's one other problem, but I see they're kind of cheating, putting the graphic box into the gutter. When you start doing that, it has consequences on everything else. It takes almost a whole remake. So I'm not going to mess with that right now, but again, I can make the graphic box right in here. And actually, I should do it as a text box, but I can actually change that. I mentioned before, I can change. In fact, I can bring this over a little bit further because I'm going to make a shadow with it. But once I do that, I can go ahead and select it. I can go ahead and remember, in order to make the shadow box, I need to give it some content. So it can't be empty. It can't be none. It has to be at least white. So for now, I'm going to tell it a white content. And so that should allow me to add the shadow box. So I can go up and find the shadow box here. But I also have to tell it that it's an item. So I have to go to there. So I have to go to the regular box, or let's say, no, it's in the runaround is where it's item. So now this is an item. Now the apply drop shadow. Okay, so we've got some shadow. Maybe make it a little bit bigger, shadow. This currently is a, I just made it a graphic box, but I should make it I can go to content and tell it I want it to be a text box. So that allows me to change the nature of this box. And I can go in here and I can find, just for expediency's sake, since we're already out of time actually, I'm going to just take this. I need a fairly long quote to fill that space, so I'm going to take that one and click into here. You make sure it's out to the front, even though it should be. I was having trouble clicking into it, so I'm going to go back and click again, make sure it lets me in, hit Control V. But the quote mark should be outside the period, so put in the period quote mark. We will need to add the name. I need to go get that separately, but I'll put in the dash right now and just put in some X's for the moment. And so I need to size this. Well, maybe the first thing I should do is do the interior runaround. So we need to inset, what they call inset. And so it already is, the click is here, so it's doing all the sides at once. So I can go ahead and put some space on the inside here. Now I can begin increasing the size. And maybe have to go just a little bit lower than that. So we're at 14 point now. I'm going to just go 13.5 because it's so close to fitting. I just need to get the name line in, and that's all I need. And actually, I could probably go up here and momentarily, or what do I want? I want the inset. I want that box. Okay. So I want to take off the doing all at once, and I want to take off some of the bottom. So if it will let me. Oh, there it goes. Well, it says it's letting me, but I'm just not seeing it. It should. Let me just take a little bit off all of it. I don't know why it's not letting me take off that one. Okay, well, there it is. So just going down to 4, it fits okay. Make that flush right. And this should be bold. I didn't boldface it yet. So we'll go up under text and bold italic. And find the guy's name. You have to be sure you're clicked in where you want to be, otherwise it may put it someplace else. I didn't mean to do that either. Undo typing. And I need to, some reason, it sometimes thinks it's behind the other one and doesn't let you in. Maybe because I did click into that earlier. Anyway, put that in. And this should be, I say 10 points should be okay with that. Maybe where we went up to 14 or almost 14, maybe a little bigger, something like that. And now we can, now that we are there, in theory, we should be able to grab this whole thing and bring it up away from the other photo. We really don't want it next to the photo. So we go up here, and now we need the outer box. We need to do the there we are. We need to do the runaround. We're a little bit shy on the one line anyway, so I'm going to leave it like that, but I need to do runaround. And so on the left and right, at least we need runaround. Top and bottom seem okay. Well, the bottom needs a little bit too. So I think I decided the other day we needed approximately 6. Same with the right side. The right side you may need a little more because it has shadow. And then we need some at the bottom to get that out of the shadow. And now we're actually one line over. And so we start looking for some place to make that fit. And And it could be combining a couple of paragraphs that have that are a little bit short. For the moment, this isn't probably the best place, but for the moment, I'll just put it here. I think I can get it to fit by just combining those two paragraphs. We still have, if we wanted to, we could go ahead and look at a color for that, give it even more graphic appeal. So I'm looking at where that's at in the page. I actually would probably move it up a little bit now that I'm looking at the whole page, and that's going to probably foul up what I just did, but I'd probably put it like up in here, get it further away from the other photo. So now you got basically 5 pieces of art instead of 4 even. But your eyes go back and forth across it. Go down and see. So it actually brought it up a line. We could actually split the paragraph, but here we do have to, the left and right are okay, but now the bottom has too much, is too close, the text is too close, so we can increase that. And that will probably also, and here it creates a funny gap here, and it's trying to be justified, so I might go even a little bit further to try to get that next line. I know it'd actually be the other way, wouldn't it? Yeah. Well, let me put it this way then. If I'm going to go, well, let me try to move this just to the right a little bit. That'll do it. Too close to the left. So we're lined up again at the bottom. The rule on the shadow boxes is if you're going to use another color, try to pick a color that's already there in the page someplace. We have a lot of gray in this picture, gray shirt, gray here. So maybe really the kind of a grayish is about as much as we want. I'm going to use the eyedropper here, the picker, and I'm going to just take this color of gray in this door and save it as gray. That's about, so I'm just going to call it gray and hit OK. And now unclick the clicker and go find gray and click on gray and take another closer look at that. Whether or not to leave the text like that, or you have this is dark enough gray that you could go white on the, but if you go white, then we'd probably want to go bold on the name down here. But I think that would work. I think I will go bold down there, choose this, everything in here, and go over here and make the text white. And anyway, it took a while to fix that, but this is it's more in line with what we should be doing. I think we may have a few little problems in here still. It looks kind of tight to the box. That may have got fouled up as we I guess it's off the box. I guess we're okay with that. Not too tight. It is a little tight, not too tight. We have another thing here. This one is also durian. So we deleted. I don't know if they cut it short, but we don't have that anymore. So we don't have this jump anymore. But that's fine. We only need one jump. But meanwhile, we do have some more space here. This is where, again, another pull-out quote. In this case, we could cheat a couple other ways. You can leave if you need to leave, by the way. But being somewhat anal by nature, I'm going to fix this or die. The subtitles are typically flush left, so we would want to take out the indent, and maybe they were originally and I put them in again, but typically we don't have an indent on that. So going to the paragraph, we can get rid of this first line indent from the subtitle, and do the same down here. Get rid of its indent, and also increase the size, 1 point size. Oops. Okay, I didn't go up though, so we need to go to, want to go to 11. What is this, 12 or 11? Okay, well, I guess we can go 12. We could go 11, but for expediency's sake, and we have extra room, might as well go 12. And we could go a little bit further away from the edges, but we wouldn't do it the way they did it. We would just bring the box over just a little bit here, the text box. And but you have to do the same with the headline then, headline and subhead. They have to match that. So the subheadline comes over, and I think we have plenty of room though to bring them all over. So we try to match the headline to that. The right side is okay, so we don't want to mess with that. So another option, besides what we're talking about, is to make the picture bigger. And so we can go ahead and bring this down. And that should also have a wraparound on that. And so we'll put the runaround, and you go item, and then and we put something in these, and we can put the bottom a little bit more than others. So we want, so I think we're okay other than the bottom. We want to make that more wraparound at the bottom. We really don't need the left and right. Shouldn't need it. But the caption should be flush left. Another issue. It does say flush left, but it has an indent on it also that we need to get rid of. Okay, so what I was going to do though is create I'm not sure what it's talking about here. One up here. Okay. Well, where I did this by hand, it's the one reason why I wouldn't do it by hand. It is confused at what I want it to do, and it's giving me a hard time, even stopping me from fixing it. Going up here, I just hit escape, I guess. It wants me to escape out of it. Somehow we went, well, this should just be 0 in here, up here, but somehow the indent was made in such a way that it thinks that there's a problem with, where this thinks it's too big of a minus number, apparently, but it should be 0. But because something else was changed, we've got and it doesn't want to let us fix it. Anyway, so when you start messing with things not at the not real obvious, you can get yourself really in a big trap. So I'd say this has something to do maybe with the way it was inset before, and I've got to get rid of that, but it doesn't want to let me get rid of it. So I can't even right-click it to do it. So it let me do something it says I can't do, but it let me do it anyway, which is kind of bad and kind of stupid on their part. Can't escape out of it. And I can't just undo it. Well, anyway, what I was going to do, I'm not going to keep you here any longer. I'll try to figure out why it won't let me undo what I did. Let me try this up here. No. Anyway, it's let me do something it says I can't do, but it won't let me undo it. We're almost filling the space, although we don't need a jump line. I would just make this picture bigger, as the idea is to go ahead and stretch it a little bigger. I cropped quite a bit off the top previously, and I don't now I don't need to crop it off the top. If I can get it to let me undo what I did that it doesn't like. So basically that would solve that problem. I'd get rid of that jump line and just make the picture a little bit bigger. It's not letting me do anything right now, so I'm frozen. But anyway, you're way past time now. Try to not to do stuff that's too weird. Try to stay with the basics, because like you see, it took a scientist to try to figure out what was done on this page to undo it, practically. So try not to do anything too strange. Try to, as much as possible, to use the bar up here to make your changes, because that's the most obvious place to do it. And like I said, it was hard for me to anticipate what the person here did by doing all that indents on the whole story. And now that's come back to bite us here because of not letting even, again, it's weird they let me play with this and now won't let me undo it. So I'm not sure what to do at that point. If I were to go back, anyway, so it's that's all we have for today.